This past Monday, I did a stream about the Jimmy Dore AOC Twitter saga, if you can call it that. Um, and for the most part, I like the chat's interactions, but there was one clown that needs to be called out. During this stream, where I tried to my best efforts, speak in an eloquent manner about the ridiculousness of having a discussion about politics and shifting it to this discussion about whether one particular person is sexist or not. There was a user who came in the comment section, or rather the live chat, and decided to insult AOC, call her a fraud, blah, 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 blah. And, even if I do critiques of her, there's specifics to where you can infer that if she didn't do the specific thing in which I'm critiquing, I wouldn't have a problem with her on that particular front. And it was funny because a lot of times my curiosity just kind of peaks when I see someone I don't recognize because I do remember certain usernames. And this person who left this goofy comment subscribed to me 2 years ago, like another clown who I recently had a surprise appearance on one of my streams, and has not commented on a single video I've done or stream up until this past Monday. I don't know what it is about doing that where people just actually subscribe to someone that don't watch any of their stuff. I think that's nuts, but whatever, you know. But I wanted to continue a little bit off of what I said during that stream because when I was thinking about the broader implications of what these people are trying to do, it really disturbed me. And it kind of is something that I think should scare a lot of people. Um, I talked a long time ago about how when Harris was invited to Martha's Vineyard after she became the senator from California, the inference that was made by people who were supporting her was that whereas they could only say people were sexist if they criticized Hillary, they could call people sexist and racist for criticizing Harris. So what ended up happening was that you almost have and it's so funny how a lot of times it feels as if people who criticize others are on the same, are two sides of the same coin. To watch these progressives who are supposed to be the ones that can dissect arguments, can break down whether what someone's saying is true or not, and are overall supposed to be substantive members of the political sphere. Again, this is their wording of themselves, not me. To watch them sit there and lounge the same ridiculous attacks about, oh, you're sexist if you criticize this female lawmaker, it's really sad. Like I would sit here and say call them hypocrites, and that's obviously what they are for doing this, but it's really disturbing to know that they're actually repeating the same talking points as people that were in Martha's Vineyard, that even though they're not as wealthy, they're not as well known in some cases, they still say the same things when trying to defend these politicians they've chosen to align themselves with and take the bullet for, rhetorically, of course. And again, just from my own experience, I have had people do racist things towards me online. I've had people spam the N-word in my chat. But I've never had someone who was criticizing me for something I said go and, say whatever they're saying in response to what I'm talking about. And then my response to them is, oh, well, I haven't seen them criticize someone who is white. There are certain situations that you can call into question if it's motivated by gender or ethnicity, but I'm someone who watches Jimmy's videos fairly regularly, and I've seen him talk trash about Trump, about Biden, about Sanders, about Ro Khanna, um, pretty much Obama, Clinton. You can go down the list, a whole bunch of different men that he has spoken of just as nasty, if not worse than AOC. And the only reason she's getting the hammering that she's received is because of the progressive Democrats in the House. She is the most prominent one. Also, if you can hear that, I apologize. I can't control when people want to be loud for no reason. They just, echo and don't care about disturbing anybody else. What a lovely society we live in when that's the accepted way of just doing things. Let me monetize my stream so I can get my 2 cents. I really do apologize if you can hear that. I don't have any control over it, unfortunately. There's a term I really hate that I actually despise, rather, and you know what it is. I'm not going to say it. It starts with an I and ends with a certain word that sounds like a Dragon Ball villain that's also an android. And the reason I hate this word is because it seems to just be kind of a phrase that people use whenever they want to dismiss or ignore. Oh, it's already on someone's criticisms. Um, I was really shocked to see when I was looking through Twitter people actually calling Jimmy this word because the word is supposed to mean a man who criticizes or is seemingly angry against women. And it also indicates that this is the reason for why the man is not successful with getting a woman. So for them to use that term towards a married man who not only is married but also does videos with his wife, I mean, at this point, it means nothing. It's just, you're a man. Yeah, sinister that one. You're a man and you criticize the woman over something. So you're automatically this. And I saw the same word get used about a week ago. There was a female streamer who I think she's on Twitch, and she was calling it offensive that some video game had the expression, this is not my words, this is the words of the game, the expression get raped as an insult lunged at somebody, during the dialogue or the cutscenes. And when people were criticizing her for, being upset over this or, being taken aback, she decided to call them the I word as well. Let me say hello to Ruben. No, the reason I sent you that message about Emma is because I hadn't seen her in anything other than a couple of segments on that TYT affiliate channel, but I hadn't really seen her in that much stuff recently. So I had no idea she was with Sam Cedar and they were doing I didn't even know Sam Cedar made that many videos about Jimmy. He has he has at least 20 videos about this man. People use words and have no idea where it came from or what it truly means. Yeah, but that word, from what I've seen, is supposed to mean a single man who is angry at chicks or is critical of them or whatever. And they've taken this word that's used to label me for criticizing the romantic decisions of broads I've spoken with in person, and are now using it against a political commentator who is criticizing a female politician, which I think is the polar opposite of what I was talking about, because that has to do with personal relationships. And this is literally just a guy making a video about a broad. And you're like, you're part of this group, even though you're married, which is something that we claim they can't do. She is the new co-host of the Majority Report after Michael Brooks died. I didn't know that. And then Music Fiend finally makes his reappearance. Music Fiend stayed off my streams longer than Jason Todd was dead. People just say stuff and don't really mean it. I don't know if they don't mean it, because if you go to their channel, they've made at least 3 separate videos where she's trying to accuse him of being sexist. I think they mean it. I don't think they understand that a lot of their arguments are contradictory. They'll admit they don't watch him, so they're going to admit that while also telling me that they know this person is sexist because of his past behavior, which, if you're not watching him, how would you know what his behavior is? That talking point to only get attacked in prison is a lie. Well, I hadn't heard about that before. I didn't know that about Emma either until today. Hey, learn something new every day. They say it because it makes them feel good to say it. Well, they say it because they want to, one, have the moral high ground and run damage control. I should have said two, but the second one is run damage control for a politician they like. Imagine if I did that for Roe, where every time somebody criticizes him on this website, I go, "This person criticized what is he, Indian? They criticized a man of color. They're racist." And think about it. They're criticizing him in the same way that they would criticize Pelosi or Schumer or any other, white politician, but I'm going to accuse them of being racist because they criticize someone who happens to be of minority. Like, how does that in any way productively add to the conversation about these issues? And again, they're making all these videos about one commentator. There was video of women who thought complimenting them was sexist, but she could. Yeah, I'm not surprised. A lot of people say things that they don't do a good job of really explaining or articulating the merits behind their viewpoint. But I find it disturbing that I'm seeing more people talk about one commentator than expanding healthcare or Medicare for all or single payer, whatever healthcare proposal they have during a pandemic. I've seen way more tweets about Jimmy than about actually getting single payer or something that expands healthcare coverage done. And it's that the reason that's disturbing to me is because politics is supposed to be about, at the end of the day, the most important thing that's supposed to take place when you're discussing this crap is strategies to implement policies that you believe will make the most people's lives better within your respective country or whatever country you're talking about. So instead of them actually talking about that, which is what Jimmy's proposal was centered around, here's how we do this, whether you agree with it or not, this is his solution for an issue. You get into these weird videos where you start talking about someone being sexist and they have a problem with chicks and all this crap. Every time Jimmy Dore argues with a woman online, his haters then say that he harasses women, even though Dore talks to men and women equally. Yeah, that's what I said earlier. I watch him. I've seen him talk trash about Trump, about Peter Dow, about Obama, about Clinton, about Bush. All of these different men, he'll call them every nasty name in the book, McCain. And that just seemingly gets swept under the rug. But Ruben, they've been doing this with left-wing commentators. That every single one of them that I can think of, other than Kyle, gets called sexist at some point for criticizing a woman. Remember, Cenk got called sexist over some old dinosaur blog post that some right-winger dug up from 20 years prior. You remember that? My second highest viewed video ever. Or stream I did where I was talking about, that's my most viewed stream, talking about how that stupid story where they're going to get him out of Justice Democrats over some blog post that he wrote almost a quarter of a century ago. And they've called Bernie sexist repeatedly. Remember what Warren did? Oh, he said a woman couldn't win the election. So any man you can think of that is on the left-wing side, you can go through and find someone who's called them sexist, especially if they're white. No, you saw that Francesa person who showed she's been on TYT before. She showed some DMs between her and Jimmy, and I'm just thinking to myself, if I were to call this person an attention word that starts with a W, I would have people saying I was sexist and evil and all this crap. But then when they're literally leaking a private correspondence with them and somebody else for all these other people to see, like they're trying to expose this person or put out private stuff between them, nobody has a problem with that. Because remember, with me, even though I showed, during some of the romance videos, screenshots of private messages, I always never say the person's name because I'm not trying to expose anybody. She literally put out her old messages with him to try and expose him. Look at what he said to me. You should stop supporting him because he spoke to me this way in DMs. And then I don't even take it seriously because he spoke the same way he speaks in his videos. Like, I'm supposed to be upset with him for being consistent. Because in his videos he's angry, curses, and in the messages he's angry and he curses. Like, Argh! Stop doing the same thing behind the scenes that you do in the light. I've seen these videos. Wow, Ruben, you realize what's going on? Only you and I actually know about the Jimmy thing, so everybody else is talking about chicks in the abstract. Oh my God. Kyle has been called sexist too, as well as racist and homophobic and other terms for not being fully. Well, I personally haven't seen him called that, but I'll take your word for it. So I want you to do me a favor. Name a single left-wing commentator you can think of who hasn't been called sexist or some other accusatory term that's meant to, like, make people think they're evil or bad or something. Because we all get called stupid. We all get called whatever. Those aren't, what's a good way of saying it? When someone calls you an idiot, it is a term that just kind of, it's used on everybody that posts a video online at some point. When someone calls you racist or sexist, they are trying to have the moral high ground. They are trying to pretend that, they are the person who treats everyone equally and you have some prejudice against some specific group. Let me see. I've been highly entertained about the Jimmy thing, but I'm just lurking. Well, stop lurking. You've been lurking for months. Your act is getting old. It's repetitive. We've been waiting for you to make your epic return, and you're going to sit here and not say anything. You just came to say hello. You wanted to have a MCU style cameo, where it's the mid post credit scene, and you go, "I'm going to be in the next movie," and then the film ends. Yeah, there's a lot of gatekeeping on the left. Well, I've seen this happen with the right wing as well, just not as much. But it seems like with left-wing people, they're more likely to throw out this allegation, and they're more likely to, what's a good way of saying it? People have called Trump sexist. They've accused him of sexual crap, but at least his supporters stick by him and don't try to, like, dogpile on him. In the case of left-wing people, you get this weird, hostile pushback from the people who are supposed to be on your team. All these people are supposed to support passing single payer, whether they have a different way of doing it or not. And they're the main ones condemning somebody who wants to pass it. And if you watch, Ruben, I don't know if you saw Francesa's tweet that she put out the day after. I don't even know how to pronounce this lady's name. The one that's on TYT, that broad that showed the DMs. She actually said, regarding a clip of Jimmy talking about AOC, he needs to keep her name out of his damn mouth. And I'm just thinking to myself, who designated that this is the one politician? Because remember, TYT has made sometimes 2, 3, 4 videos about Trump in one day. Who designated that these people get to decide how often he can talk about this lady? If I, for example, wanted to make a video on AOC every day, and I defended her and I was like, this person doesn't know what they're talking about, they're idiot, they would praise me because I'm on their side. But if I do a video every day crapping on her, oh my God, this sexist man is obsessed with her. Because I'm not playing for their team. See, it's not about the frequency of how many times you speak about this person, but what's being said. I can't think of any left-wing person that hasn't been called sexist, racist, and other terms. If you were talking about, yes, that's her name, Francesca, then that was because Dore caught her repeating CIA talking points about the U.S.-Syria war. Yeah, I remember the tweet that was shown, which explained the situation with them. I just think it's disturbing that instead of maybe doing a video explaining why you don't believe you're repeating these talking points, or defending yourself on some position you have, you're going to shift the discussion from the issues to this man's personality. I've been called sexist for calling out Tulsi Gabbard. How is she a warmonger? Explain that to me. I don't know of any position she has that Ruben, do you know what he's talking about? I don't remember her being considered a warmonger. I thought she was a person who criticized regime change wars. I'd love to see where this position comes from. But I just find it very disturbing that the whole point of politics is to do things that better the most people in your country. And instead, for the last couple, like for the last 5, 6, 7 days, it's been this weird, overarching discussion about Jimmy. Like, I'm really disgusted because again, they're turning this into a personality contest over addressing the merits of his arguments. I could link you a video that explains it better than me. I think if you post the video's link, they might because I've done that before. I post the video's link and then it catches it. So just put the video's title and who it's by, and I can look for it later. But let's play devil's advocate and say that she is a warmonger. If you're criticizing her position and someone's calling you sexist for doing that, that they're literally trying to obfuscate from the main issue at hand, which is her position on these topics that you're talking about. Tulsi supported drone strikes up until 2015. During that time, criticized Obama for not bombing ISIS enough. Jesus. Well, Ruben, couldn't you make the argument that a lot of people would go after Sanders for voting for the Iraq War resolution? Which resolution was it that started? I always forget the actual name of it, but there's a resolution he voted for in the House when he was a congressman that listed the Afghanistan war, and people hold that over his head, even if he says it was a mistake. I know that was much earlier than 2015, but you get what I'm saying. Just in the playing devil's advocate there is. She also backed the Syrian dictator, Assad, and was complacent in the Yemen genocide. Hey, that's the calling card of all the Democrats. So let it be known that if you put a minority person as president, you can kill a whole bunch of babies for no reason. After your buddy government gets kicked out by the people, you can go there and destroy a whole bunch of innocent lives for no reason, or rather for revenge. And people won't care as long as the president's black. Now the U.S. is such a just screwed up place. They let all kind of people just get away with horrible things. Tulsi said Assad was a dictator in the view to the outrage of actual Assad supporters. Last year. Yeah, they've been using Assad to go after her repeatedly. I've seen Harris do it. In that same debate, we saw, the stupid mayor do it. So, I mean, I don't think they're any better, but whatever. The Assadist talking point is so stupid. Yeah, it doesn't really seem like it has much merit other than she met with him and I guess wasn't confrontational. It kind of reminds me of the North Korea thing with Trump, where you had a lot of people who were so angry that he would dare to meet with the leader of another country. It's like, ugh. It's like I prefer a meeting to a war. It's just people get angry over everything. But again, that's still, if you want to get into the merits of that, we can do it. I'm just simply saying I find it very disturbing that there's a lot of people who seem to get caught up in the gender of a politician or their ethnicity and use that as a shield to protect them against criticism. Criticism. With Obama, if you criticize him, you're racist. With Hillary, if you criticize her, you're sexist. With Harris, if you criticize her, you're racist and sexist. It just goes on and on. And that's why I can't even take these words seriously anymore, because they're just thrown around like candy. Oh, you criticize somebody I like who is not a white man. Oh, here's the reason why you are morally repugnant for that criticism. And you know that they've actually, so remember how with Tulsi they keep bringing up Assad. They've actually turned uh, Tulsi into Jimmy's Assad. So a lot of times when they criticize Jimmy for criticizing AOC, they mention Tulsi as a way of, like, I guess, his kryptonite. Like, oh, you're saying that you're hard on politicians, but you weren't hard on Tulsi, so we got you. They just keep bringing her up over and over to deflect from their own crap. As people always want to judge people and put labels on someone because we become so sensitive to political correctness. Well, it's that, and also they want to defend the person they like at any cost. So they assign these terms and insults as a way of deflecting the criticism. Like I said, I defend Roe all the time, and he got criticized by Jimmy when he went on his show. I didn't call Jimmy racist for criticizing that upstanding Indian congressman, because his criticisms were literally levied at every member of the House, with the exception of Thomas Massie, who voted the way that Jimmy would have liked, which was no on the bill that he was critiquing him over. So I don't understand how trying to call him racist for critiquing this congressman or these members of Congress actually furthers the discussion at all. If anything, it's done just to discourage people from criticizing certain people. So if we go by the racist and sexist crap, we can't criticize the Speaker of the House because she's a woman. We can't criticize the third highest ranking Republican House member because she's a woman. We can't criticize any of the squad because they're women and they're of minority. So, like, what, am I not the right gender to discuss these people? I mean, like, it's stupid, because I guarantee you, actually, I know this for fact. When Jimmy discussed Trump and Bernie and Biden and all these other people, you didn't see anybody in the comment section going, I can't believe you would talk about this man this way. You're so sexist. You hate other men so badly. No one did that, because it was understood that his criticisms were of these people based on the merits of what they've done and whether he liked or disagreed with what they had done. I don't know. We just live in such a feminist society to where people are actually acting as if when you criticize someone, you might as well be grabbing them by the neck, like you're doing something horrible. Jesus Christ. You know, I remember when Cenk was, I guess, slightly bigger, or I guess not as disliked. He would talk about how on Fox News they often will bring on a black person to talk trash about other black people, like that Wisconsin sheriff, the one from Milwaukee. What's his name? I'm forgetting his name, but you know what I'm talking about. You can go look him up. And I was thinking to myself, well, hell, if they don't bring on someone black to talk about other black people, you're just going to call them racist anyway. So, like, this is what happens. Like, they literally created a system where if they're not of the same race as the person they're talking about, they're racist. If they're not a woman and criticizing a woman, they're sexist. So then when they get people who fill these quotas and they have the same opinion as the people who don't fill those quotas, oh, this person's just here to espouse this position about these up. But how else are they going to criticize them without getting, accused of being sexist or racist? You see that conundrum where it's It's like a pyramid scheme, like this maze of no way of winning. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like it recently became a trend to invent many genders that we've never heard of before. SJWs were outraged with Ro Khanna for going to Fox News. Well, I mean, they believe that there are certain news outlets that you're not allowed to go to. They can tell grown people what shows they're allowed to go on and not allowed to go on. So that's why you have people who actually try to defend AOC not going on Jimmy's show, even though we know for a fact that she knows who he is, because you can go on YouTube right now, type in AOC Jimmy Dore interview, and see the interview he did 3 years ago with her. And now she won't even talk to him and doesn't respond directly to him because she's a coward. On this particular thing, she's a coward. And Roe even said himself when he went on Jimmy's show, how can I be one of the top, 500 most powerful people in the US and be afraid of going and answering questions to somebody? How does that work? Remember, these are your elected leaders and they're afraid to go talk to a comedian in his garage. Ruben, I want to ask you, if I ran for the House against my so lovely congressperson, what would you think of me if I was afraid to do an interview with someone on a computer? Like if that was something I was just avoiding and trying to escape from, would you think I was brave and showing leadership qualities as I ducked this person? Yeah, but see, with Omar, with Tlaib, with Presley, with pretty much all of those people, other than AOC and Ro Khanna, I don't know for a fact that they know who Jimmy is because I've never seen them interact with him before. I've never heard them mention him, but we know that AOC knows who Jimmy is because she went on his show 3 years ago, and then she, got elected, and now she is apparently too big to go on there. I think Roe and Tulsi do deserve credit for being the only sitting members of Congress who aren't afraid to go on somebody's show. Because I've seen Roe go on not Rand Paul, on Ron Paul's show, Fox News. He's not, that's why I said I think he's a much better representative for the left than AOC because he's not sitting over here cowering to go to an interview. It's like, yeah, she has way more name recognition, but I just think he's a better representative for these ideas. Her response will always be, I don't owe you anything, which is usually used a convenient excuse to avoid responsibility. Jimmy Dore was actually first media guy to interview AOC. Well, that's why I know she knows who he is. Remember, she responded to the quarterback that, Jackson, the one that was peddling Jimmy's idea, but not Jimmy himself. But isn't it sad that we actually live in an era where people want you, like they want you to celebrate these members of Congress. Oh, these brave women are so amazing because they went out and ran and got all these votes and yay. But then they're afraid to go on a show. Like, how is that bravery to keep ducking and dodging a very prominent left-wing commentator? Like, I'm really astonished. I find it to be really creepy and really weird that you have these people who are actually trying to justify the validity of someone being a quote unquote elected leader, but then being so spineless, so cowardly that they dodge an interview. And it's not even a thing where it's, you can give them like the benefit of the doubt. You can say, hey, well, they don't know who I am because I'm someone who only has 2,000 subs and keeps getting smaller and smaller. But this is someone who literally almost has 1 million subscribers who one of their most prominent members spoke to a few years ago, and I'm supposed to believe that they don't know who he is. And then if you criticize them for ducking this person, if you criticize them for seemingly not doing enough to pass issues that you care about, you're sexist. When you've literally given the exact same criticisms to men. Now, Ruben, do you remember the video that Jimmy did on Mark Pocan, where he was talking about how ridiculous he was for opposing a vote on single payer in the House? This life is rigged. Yes, Steve, if you're not the right gender, you're not allowed to do certain things or talk about certain issues or people. It's really scary. Hey, Steve, think of how backwards this is. I get called a coward or like whatever for not wanting to bother talking to a bunch of chicks that aren't interested. But then a bunch of women that are supposedly leaders of the U.S. are not cowardly for dodging going on someone's show. Well, you don't have to see it. I'm just mentioning it because it's an example of how Dore criticizes people regardless of their gender or ethnicity, and that it's only because he's criticizing AOC that his rhetoric is now like this dangerous, evil thing that we need to do a dozen videos on. Like, they've actually turned this lady into the second coming of Christ. She's their sacred cow. You're not allowed to discuss her. Or if you do discuss her, you must defend her. I told you, the way their nonsense works is I can make a video on her every single day defending her, and oh my God, he's such a great defender of progressivism. But if I do a video every day talking trash about her, he's obsessed with her. He needs to stop talking about her. Well, hell, you weren't saying that when she was getting defended on my channel. They believe that having a certain thing that is shaped like a V and starts with the letter V makes you above critique. Like, that is nuts. What the hell, Ruben, what the hell would you look like if you were online and you were talking about something and then let's say some chicks criticized you and you said, they're being sexist to me? You would get laughed at. You would get made fun of. It's just concern trolling to force people to keep voting for Democrats, even though a sexist guy and racist collaborator won the Democratic presidential primary. Yeah, I don't really see them proposing any solutions. They're just, foaming at the mouths. And again, I wouldn't really have a problem with them criticizing what he's doing because I believe that there's nothing that's above critique that's, out in the public, but we're not actually having a discussion about the merits of this issue. Cedar has done like 30 videos on Jimmy. And nobody thinks that's weird. But they'll get mad at Jimmy for doing videos on, and it's like, you'll talk more about this commentator on YouTube who has no power, he has no vote in Congress. But the people who actually can change something, I'm not seeing them get discussed for 30 minutes. I haven't seen a video that's half an hour long talking about Clyburn and pressuring Pelosi or Hoyer or any of them. No, it's definitely concern trolling, which again is part of the problem because they're not actually addressing the topic at hand. They're turning this into this weird popularity contest. I don't like Jimmy because he gets angry, when literally every single one of them gets angry and passionate during their videos. And you know damn well if Jimmy was a woman and people were saying they didn't like her because she yelled, they would get called sexist or misogynist, or they would be accused of telling a woman what to do. Or hell, if a woman, imagine if someone goes to TYT and says, I don't like Anna discussing Biden so much, they get called sexist. How dare you tell this woman she can't talk about this male politician? Ugh. But then if you're a man speaking negatively about a female politician that they like, like it's weird. This is really dangerous because they are trying to say, depending on your gender, you're not allowed to discuss certain people or ethnicity. How long has the stream been going? I got no notification. 40 minutes. Did you enable the bell, Chivo or Chivo? Because YouTube's been known to do that, where somebody will have the bell enabled or not enabled, and then it won't send them anything. No, I'm very disturbed by the fact that I'm supposed to be among people who supposedly are smart, and they're getting into these weird discussions about this one commentator over addressing an issue that they believe will help millions of people. The left wing people bring it upon themselves by always embracing SJW ideology. Every time they criticize each other and get criticized by liberals, there is always accusations about racism and then racism or sexism. But you've never seen me do that. You've never seen me go on the video and say, oh my God, these people are criticizing me, they're racist. It's never happened. Oh, well, yeah, YouTube is just being trash. And misogyny and other dumb terms getting mixed in with the more policy criticisms. Well, it seems like the majority of it is just them talking about the personality of Jimmy. They're making whole half-hour videos discussing this man. And like listen, when they say he was wrong about this, okay, fine, whatever. But they're talking about, what's a good way of saying it? Oh, he has political nihilism. What does that even mean? Again, if they want to discuss why what he's saying is true or is incorrect, that's fine. Accusing somebody of being sexist because they criticized a woman you like is not. I'm an outlier. Hey, that's why I'm stagnant and they're growing. Apparently that stuff works. Get on here and accuse people of being racist for not watching you. I didn't get 100 views on YouTube. I'm gonna call the NAACP. Jesus Christ. You know, people are actually saying in response to Dore that he, like, what's his accomplishment? Like, who has he put in office? And I'm like, you know, most of us, just as people that are regular, you know, who vote in elections but have not ran before, you know, can't reach out to a politician and have them directly respond to us. It's very ridiculous to use that as the benchmark for if someone's allowed to criticize somebody. Yeah, I think so as well. But um, again, if these people were just talking about if they think him holding her accountable is going to produce the result he wants, I'd have no issue. But instead, we're getting into these weird discussions about, oh, is this person sexist? Do they have a problem against women? Are they doing this because they're a grifter? I'm so sick of that word. And again, all of these people who are saying this, these left wing people, all of them make money doing this, getting on a camera, talking about politics, and giving their opinion. But when he does it, because it's not the one we agree with, there must be this financial incentive. If you watch the newest Sam Cedar video, what's that guy's name? Dixon, the guy with the glasses. Not me, the other guy with the glasses. He actually said he just bought a house for 2 million. Like, okay, what does that have to do with his criticisms of AC? Like, I don't care if his house costs 2 billion. It doesn't have anything to do with him criticizing her for not getting anything changed. Again, this is why American politics is a joke, because the people who are supposed to be on your side will say stupid stuff like that. And then they'll have an audience with a hate boner toward you who, instead of addressing if whether the person they don't like is in the right for saying what they're saying, uh, it doesn't get left at that. They turn into these weird personal attacks and, incentive positions. And they've done the same thing to Candace Owens, where I watch Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, all these different right-wing commentators. They get to say whatever they want, and nobody says, he just has that view for money. But then when this black lady says things that I think are ridiculous, but not any worse than what they're saying, she's doing it for coins. I saw the talking point about Doris House being compared to the one about it's the same thing where let's not address whether what this person's saying has merit. Let's get into this weird nonsense about their home or what are their personal finances. Because that's another thing. A lot of these people are jealous that they're not able to make as much, flapping their gums as he is. Remember, Ruben, you didn't hear of Emma because there's an Emma channel that just blew up overnight or blew up over the course of years. You heard about her because she latched on to TYT. Same thing with that Dixon person, all of them. They have to combine into a team, whereas Dor stands by himself and just keeps going like that. And they're upset over it. And the fact that he's saying something they don't agree with, because if he was still on their side and going to AOC, they wouldn't have a problem with what he's talking about. They certainly wouldn't have enough of a problem with it to try and accuse him of financial ensnarement. She comes from a rich family, which again, I don't have a problem with that, but it's so weird to see someone like that, who again, according to you, comes from a rich family, try to pretend that there's something inherently wrong with having Patreon supporters. That there's an issue with that somehow is corrupting your view. You can't just have the view you have because you've thought this out or come to it naturally. Oh no, he's trying to get some coins. I just think it's insane. People are quick to attack personal stuff when their argument is weak. I mean, yeah, you see all the. I'm supposed to believe that people who don't like Cenk don't like him for things he says, but then I'm getting these videos where they talk about his forehead and all this stupid. Again, you'll be surprised how many times in politics there's this weird push to get caught up in stuff that has nothing to do with anything. They're doing the same thing in Georgia. Oh, that lady that's running against Warnock is the richest senator out of all of them. It's like, okay, well, does that make her positions invalid? Is there something wrong with being the richest? I don't. They always try to make themselves sound like they're like these. What do you call it? The rest of them are all destitute, and the Republicans are just so wealthy compared to the Democrats, when that's not true. I mean, even with the Armenian genocide, that's at least them talking about something that is a position they disagree with. Again, with the Jimmy stuff, they're just crying about him and his personality because that personality is being directed towards someone that they like and they want to, retain access to. Oh, God, it's like every website this year has just been ridiculous. There's just a natural evolution of the internet where every thing you have to say or position that someone takes is going to be insane or nutty. Loeffler is awful, though a lot of right wing people don't want her either. Well, again, understand the reason you're saying she's awful is because you don't agree with her positions, which, again, I'm not here to defend at all. What I am saying is when someone, I mean, Ruben, you know, Pelosi is a several 10 million over millionaire, but you don't see Democrats getting upset about that because she's on their team. For them to try and pretend that being rich or the wealthiest is like this strange or inherently bad thing when most of the people in Congress are, you know, in relative terms, wealthy. Do you understand where that seems like a strange criticism? That's like me having 6 houses and saying that somebody else is bad because they have 8. I mean, personally, I don't think Warnock is that good either. So, whatever. I just don't want the Democrats to have the Senate because I think they're going to not do anything and then, you know, try to, they'll get people to still support them anyway. I want them to have their convenient excuse. They really are stupid for not being able to win this election cycle. That map was perfect for them, and they got swatted. The dingbat crats are at it again, losing seats that they should have won by like 10 points. How the hell do you let McConnell get elected to a 7th term? Like, seriously, if it weren't for them getting the White House, this would be the new Republican revolution. Remember the 94 Republican Revolution with Gingrich? This would be the new one because they lost, they still might lose the Senate, and they barely kept the House after just getting it back 2 years prior. I want Democrats to win Georgia so they can be accountable in the 2022 midterms. I guess I'm just tired of them not doing anything. They will no longer have their Senate minority excuse. But do you think that's going to mean that they'll pass things that any of us actually support? Because Biden's opposed to the Green New Deal. He already said he'd veto single payer. So for me, them having the Senate seems like it's just going to be, you know, if they do pass anything, stuff that we don't want anyway. I don't know. It's really hard to look, you know, and be upbeat about Biden being the president, but whatever. I think they'll come up with another excuse. Oh, we didn't have a supermajority. Because, you know, they did that for the Republicans. They're like, oh, well, Trump didn't have a supermajority, so it wasn't the same thing as when Obama had it. They always find a way to squeeze out a new crybaby thing to use to justify being ineffectual lawmakers. Yeah. I need 60 seats before my party can do anything. Now you know that's going to be their next excuse. Because they're going to say, "Oh, it was too narrow for us to pass." And remember, just because they have a majority, let's say it's a slim majority, because it will be a slim majority, the 51 votes or 52, whatever. That still doesn't mean that the ones, and you know, I'm talking about Manchin, Sinema, you know, people of that ilk are not going to vote with the Republicans over the Democrats. Some good that majority is going to be. The Democrats did that for Obama's first 2 years, right? Yep. I know a lot of us weren't, I guess, active. You mean I'm back? I didn't go anywhere. You're the one who disappeared, Vince. Uh, I mean, I at this point, I'd rather see Vince McMahon than that other Vince that just showed up from how poorly he treated me for these last few months. Yeah, they used that excuse. They said, "Oh, Ted Kennedy died, and Al Franken took a long time to get put in office, so we didn't have enough votes." And even with those two not being accounted for, they still had more seats than they're going to have, even if they win both of these Senate seats in Georgia. No, they always find a way to get out of ever being accountable for their own misgivings. So I said, it seems like politics is just people trying to make it enough excuses to where they can just stay in office forever, or to where they don't have to worry about getting challenged for their inaction. Don't worry, I'll get this in my second term, and then in my third term, I might finally get it. In my fourth term, I might eventually get it. It's really sad that this is and then to top it all off, watch out who you criticize, and if you don't have the right genitalia, otherwise your opinion is sexist. Even if you criticize men for having the exact same problem as this female lawmaker, you're sexist. But it was funny to watch them call Jimmy that because again, he's married and they're saying that about him. So that's another word that doesn't mean anything. I guess the definition I can think of is if you're a man and you criticize a woman for anything, you're part of that group. You're part of the romance crew. And then one of my favorite things was that someone actually pushed back on him getting called the I word. And then this person responded by saying, "Well, he still has an audience that's filled with people like that." It's like, well, hell, nobody controls who watches their video. I can't click my heels right now and have a bunch of I don't know, Green Party members appear in my chat. Like, that's why I said that this is just insane. Like, this politics is a cartoon at this point in the U.S. And my camera's acting up. It's just this big gag. To hell with making anyone's life better. To hell with giving people health care. Let's just cry about this one guy on YouTube. And if he's nice enough to this lady that, according to us, isn't even watching him anyway. Dore qualifies it too. So the sexism and racism accusations are pathetic. Yeah, doesn't he defends BLM? He defended the Christine Blasey Ford allegation against Kavanaugh. I don't understand where there's any substantive difference between him and the people who are criticizing him right now, which is what makes this even more insane that you can have someone who's that much on your side and be like, nah. This is really nuts. They'll go to this length to defend this lady, accuse everybody that criticizes her of being sexist, try to pretend that the people who have power have no power, try to pretend the commentator who has no power has power over lawmakers. This is nuts. Hey, Ruben, vote for me for this California congressional district. Now, I just want you to know ahead of time, I'm a coward and I won't go on anybody's show. But if you put me in office, I'll stand up against Republicans and foreign threats and the rest of the circuit. But don't expect me to go on anybody's show. That's my kryptonite. I hear so much about equality, but no one is protesting to allow. I don't even know what you're talking about. Whatever. That's like a running gag where like I'm talking about something and then somebody shows up and just starts blathering about something else. I could do a stream about ice cream. I want to talk about football. I was outside and I was throwing the pigskin. Yeah, to see Dore get labeled that is kind of insane. Actually, is really insane. So you can agree with these people on all the issues, but if you say something they don't like, they're basically calling you because they say that Republicans are sexist and racist. So they're saying that Dore's a Republican, and I've actually say that they think his audience is Republican. For me to misassume, I'd had to have not read your comment, and I read it, and it wasn't about what I was talking about. I was talking about a lawmaker who has people that are so gung ho to defend her that they'll bring out all these allegations against somebody, uh, and how this stupid it was. Yeah, Ruben, do you have anything else left to say? Because I think I pretty much said all I need to. Look at me, I'm TYT. I have a woman as one of my commentators, and she gets to yell. But if this man yells, ugh, I ran out for today. Uh, so yeah, you arrived very late. You can go on TV tropes. Look up the term 11th hour ranger. That's you. Show up all the way at the end. Just to wrap this up, I find it very pathetic that in an era where we're supposed to believe that women are closer than ever to achieving equality, there are people who actually want us to not be able to criticize them in the same way that we would criticize a man by virtue of not being the same gender as that person. It's like this weird reverse sexism. It's crazy. And again, these people are not saying this because they have some proof that you're harder on women than you are on men, as I showed that Jimmy has also harshly criticized a bunch of male politicians as well. They're just doing it so they can have their politician that they idolize get off scot-free from any criticism that this man might direct her way for um, being ineffective as a lawmaker. A criticism he's disposed of toward males as well, but that gets swept under the rug. But anyways, thanks for showing up, Ruben. I appreciate it. I'll stream again on Monday. Hopefully, we'll be done with this nonsense. And have a good day. Thanks for appearing.